Leidos. One part inspiration, one part science, one part legacy, and one part opportunity. We live in a complex, uncertain world, a world that demands breakthroughs today, like safe and reliable transportation, a robust infrastructure, better health solutions, a safer cyberspace, and an efficient military. Leidos, ready to support your next breakthrough.
Welcome to today's first Chesapeake chat session. My name is Emma Hollencheck, a member of the 2021 Alumni Ambassador Cohort sponsored by Booz Allen Hamilton, and I will be your moderator for the evening. Thank you to our first Chesapeake chat sponsor, Newport News Shipbuilding. This is our final episode of the Today's Women in STEM Cool Jobs series and is part of Reaching for the Stars, First Chesapeake Celebrates Women in STEM, sponsored by Leidos. Thanks to both Newport News Shipbuilding and Leidos for making this chat possible, and thank you to our panelists for being here with us this evening. The Today's Women in STEM series is designed to introduce STEM career opportunities for FIRST Robotics teams members and alumni and highlight the accomplishments of women in STEM fields. We'll have some information later on about where to find internship opportunities with Dominion Energy for current students and recent graduates. Just some housekeeping. We will let the speakers present and then open up for discussion questions later on if there is time, but feel free to put questions in the comments throughout the chat and we'll try to get to them all. Today's chat features women currently working for Dominion Energy. Before we introduce our speakers, we're going to watch a quick video about Dominion Energy. Wow, such a wonderful introduction to what Dominion Energy is all about. At this time, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have Diane Leopold, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Lisa Hilbert, Nuclear Plant Manager, North Anna Power Station, and Kendra Picard, Engineer 3, Offshore Wind. I'd like to start off the chat with a couple questions for you all. If you could just briefly tell us what your role is with Dominion Energy and what do you do in your job?
Okay, well, I'll kick off. I'm really glad to be here. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Dominion Energy. So we have 4 main business units. The electric company that serves Virginia and parts of North Carolina. We have South Carolina Electric and Gas Utility that serves customers in that state. We have a gas distribution business that has customers throughout the whole country and a very large nuclear and solar fleet throughout the country. So those are the 4 main businesses, and we provide power and natural gas to 7 million customers in 16 states. But our main states are Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, and Utah. And I'm responsible for the operations to make that happen, the power stations, the wires, the distribution lines, the meters, making sure we have safe, reliable, affordable, and clean energy.
Awesome.
I'll go. So I am an engineer for the Central Virginia Offshore Wind Project, the commercial project. So that's 188 wind turbines and 3 offshore substations. I'm the engineer for the substations and cables. And right now we're very early in the project, so we're just working on like early conceptual design and getting ready to decide our who we're going to be using for our engineering and construction.
Lisa, would you mind briefly telling us what your role is at Dominion Energy?
I hopefully all can hear me. I'm a plant manager at one of our nuclear power plants. We have 7 active nuclear sites. I work at North Anna Power Station, where there are 2 1,000 megawatt units. Been working in nuclear for 30 years. My responsibilities at the plant are all operations and maintenance related.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. Our next question is, as a young person, what did you think you wanted to do for a career? And are there similarities to what you're doing now versus what you thought you wanted to do back then? Diane, we can start with you again if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure, of course. Not very much related to what I'm doing now. I actually wanted to be a recording engineer. So I wanted to be in that recording studio. And so I started taking some courses in acoustical engineering. And I realized I was better at engineering than music. So I dropped the music piece and I picked up engineering. And then I couldn't decide what type of engineer I wanted to be. So I ended up a double major of electrical and mechanical. And that was energy. It was power and energy because it was that conversion of mechanical to electrical. And that's how I ended up in the energy business.
Yeah, growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian until I took freshman year bio and realized that like biology wasn't for me. But I love science, so I love chemistry and physics. And I knew I wanted to do something that like was purposeful and had value. So, I wanted to be an engineer. I originally studied civil engineering, thinking I was going to build bridges, and then got my master's in mechanical engineering. Started in the offshore oil and gas industry and then came into the energy industry. So after living through the Texas blackout that we were talking about, I can see how important energy is in our everyday lives. So.
I think we lost the video for Lisa, but if you don't mind still sharing, if you can.
Yeah, I'm going to leave my camera off so it works better that way. I knew when I went to school, I love music too, and I wanted to be an electrical engineer radio. So a little bit different than what I'm doing now, but I wound up getting a mechanical engineer degree. I love
All right. We will move on to the next question. What inspired you to want to work in energy and alternative energy?
So when I was in college, I wanted to. I realized I wanted to go into energy because, as I said, I was a double major, and the focus of it was power and energy. And what I really wanted to do was work on appropriate technology, and so to go overseas and look at ways that different countries, based on the resources they had, they could have affordable and clean energy. And at the time, they said that because I was a woman, I wouldn't be able to go overseas right away. So I talked to several agencies. This was a long time ago. So I would talk to the government. I talked to the Peace Corps. I talked to some of the federal agencies, and they said, go and become an expert in the field first and come back afterwards, and maybe in, you know, a few decades, but you just wouldn't be able to do it right away. And so I started just learning about the industry and just realizing how dynamic it was and how much there is to change in the industry to be able to, you know, you think about all of the electrification that's going on in vehicles and other things, that it just became such a dynamic industry. I just grew to love it more and more the more I got to know it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like I said, I started in offshore oil. And I started because I wanted to make sure that there were no more oil spills. And I thought that I could be the one to really, make that happen or be part of the team. And so I worked in that for 8 years. And I really, at that point, like a few years ago, realized like, oil and gas is good, but it's not going to be forever. We really need like lower carbon options. And offshore wind takes the skills I learned from offshore oil and gas and uses them in a way that, provides energy as well as, makes our planet greener and our energy resources cleaner. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool combination and just kind of got obsessed with it a little bit and read about it and got a job in it.
That's really cool. I think we'll go to the next question. Kind of a fun one. What's your favorite part about your job at Dominion?
Mine is watching what everybody, there's so many different types of jobs. And as you travel to the different business areas, and everything from, people operating drones to people working in power stations and human resources. It's a large company with a small company feel to it. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many opportunities to meet people from all across the country and the world, and all of the different types of things that they're doing. And even just if we're selling power to our customers, it's generated all different types of ways. There's the nuclear facility, a solar facility, an offshore wind facility, all to produce the same product to be able to let people turn their lights on. And I just find that so exciting and engaging, and the people just love what they do.
That's awesome. It's exciting to see people doing amazing work, and it's even more exciting to see people who love doing the amazing work that they do. So thank you for sharing that.
So I'm pretty new to Dominion, and I started during COVID-19, so I still haven't even been to the office yet. But I've already met like some really amazing people, and I think it's really cool that we, the team that I work on has brought in so much different expertise from like all different industries and the military, and onshore substations, cables. So it's been really cool to meet people and like have these discussions and hear people's different perspectives.
Yeah. Let's see. What advice would you give younger women looking to explore a career in a similar field, or what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, we don't have so long for what the advice I'd give to my younger self. So my first job after college, I was the first female power plant engineer at my prior company. So that was actually stationed at a power station. And, over the years, I actually have been the sole woman in countless, control rooms, construction sites, negotiating tables, as I've also become grown into business. And I guess what I've learned, or the lesson, which I wish I told myself, would be twofold. The first is that it's okay not to fit in. It actually, like, use that experience, and everybody has the same goal, but actually celebrate it. You belong, but it's okay. And I used to try to, like, gosh, I don't fit in, I'm the only woman here. And in the end, just like, I loved my job and they loved their job, and we kind of like just started that teamwork, and that it's okay, and you don't have to, and especially now, I think we really have moved from, accepting diversity, like when I first started my career, to celebrating diversity and wanting a lot of different people and perspectives and backgrounds. So that would be the first one, is relax, it's okay. And the other is just stay grounded in what's important. So don't get too stressed about those things, that as you're facing uncertainty and facing challenges, just be yourself and remember what's important.
Yeah, I guess for myself and other people interested is like, just don't give up. Stay passionate, stay interested. Like, one bad grade is not going to ruin your whole life. It's okay to go to office hours, and be patient and work hard, and eventually you'll get to where you want to go.
Awesome. So we have a question in the chat, and it's kind of shifting gears a little bit, but what new innovations are you seeing in energy right now?
So there are actually so many right now. I'll give a couple. Is, energy or electricity is very unique, that it can't be stored. And so the work in batteries that really started with car batteries for electric vehicles, and how you move that to large scale to be able to store electricity, is a lot of kind of big picture, like big problem and big solution work that we're doing in innovation. And then at the operating level, the uses that we have for drone technology now is incredible, in inspections and looking down areas of a transmission line to see something, into a power station, and going into areas that humans used to have to go, and it's a lot safer to just have a drone come and look at it from a camera in a safe place. So they're just a couple that I can think of.
Awesome.
I guess one cool thing that I learned that Dominion is doing is the renewable natural gas, and partnering with farms and pig farms to use their waste product to create methane to use, actually, save carbon emissions. I think that's really cool.
Wow.
And that is actually, it's called as carbon negative. So it actually takes more greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere than what ends up getting used, by like a 25-to-1 order of magnitude. It is pretty cool.
Wow. Those are both incredible. Oh my goodness. It's really exciting to hear about all of the innovation that's happening right now, especially in the middle of all of the COVID-19 situations, to hear about the great work that companies are doing to keep pushing forward. So kind of...
And you bring that up just in another, because of just COVID has brought forward enormous amounts of innovation. We used to go to a customer's home before we were going to do some, they were going to do construction. So we have to do some work at their site. And now a lot of the pre-construction's now done by FaceTime. And so we still obviously have to go out there to do the work at the site, but just thinking of how to work smarter and having meetings before going out into the field, we all get together and have a safety discussion. And sometimes now we can do that, using Zoom or some type of technology before going out, so that we're saving a few trips.
Yeah, that is true. We have another question from the comments. How are you using robotics in the energy field?
Well, I'll start, and if in some of our power stations, and we have large pipes that you want to inspect the inside of it, so we have we call them in the gas side, we call them smart pigs. So you have cameras on a piece of equipment that will go and crawl inside the pipe. So, there's a lot of forms of robotics that we're using that's getting better and better on inspections and getting enormous amounts more data, as well as going in and even doing some repairs with the robotics of going in. Lisa isn't with us now, but a robot can go into an area of containment that it's not safe for a human to go to either do inspections or even some repair. So we're just on the cusp of doing more of that.
Yeah, I know offshore, uses robotics all the time, offshore wind and I guess offshore oil and gas. ROVs, remote operated vehicles, are used. They have an umbilical that goes down, and then, I think they use Xbox now to actually control the arms to go look at, inspect, and also install equipment. There's also a robot, and I'm not sure what it's called, but it actually does the trenching. So you to trench the cables, it actually will follow the line, and it's controlled. So I think autonomous robots are also going to be coming up for inspections as well.
Awesome. Welcome back. How are you seeing robotics used in the energy field at the North Anna Power Station, Lisa?
Yeah, we use robotics for pipe inspections. We put a lot of robotics in high radiation fields, so we save dose to our employees. So we use them in interesting ways that way. Get a lot of good pictures back for our inspections that we have to do. Some of them are regulatory required inspections, or some are just things that we're interested in getting a good look at some welds, or we have or just things that are going on that we can't send a human being into.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to hear robotics making everyone's lives safer, especially in the energy field. So kind of switching gears again, we have another question in the chat that touches on how important is the choice of a college major for young people today.
So, if you want to be an engineer, certainly an engineering degree is important. But the number of jobs where you can have a business degree or a finance and psychology, and it really doesn't matter. There are so many jobs to start with that if you're coming in, it's more about what you do once you get there. And there are so many rotational opportunities if you're interested in learning the business. If even technical jobs, I've known people, they have a chemistry degree and they end up in the rates and finance and department in regulation. So people kind of move all over the place. If you are interested in a STEM career, then certainly a technical degree is kind of a bit of a ticket to be able to start.
I agree with what Diane said there. There are certain jobs at a nuclear plant that I can think of that we want that specialty degree in chemistry, for instance. Some of our people who choose to go get a senior reactor operator license, there are requirements to have the technical 4-year degree. It's pretty specific, but we have found also that people with a 4-year chemistry degree are just as successful getting through our completing class and coming out with a license. So I think it's really what you want, but working in a power plant for well, a technical degree really definitely will help you.
Yep, I agree with what everyone says. I mean, I've worked, in offshore with people with biomedical degrees and aeronautic degrees. But I will say it is harder for them when they talk to recruiters if they have a degree that's kind of outside the norm of what you want to do. But I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with a mechanical engineering degree. You can do almost everything in engineering with it. So it's really up to you. And if you know exactly what you want to do, I mean, do that.
Awesome. So I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. So kind of going back to an earlier question about what advice you would give to younger women, just reflecting, what kind of mentors did you have as a student and in your career? And why was it important to you to have a mentor?
So I have to admit that I did not have a mentor in school or early in my career. And that is something that obviously I did okay not having one, but I really missed it. And so I actually, as I grew in my career, it was something I really focused on, is making sure that others had access to mentors when they come in the company, if they were interested in it and trying to grow mentorship programs.
Awesome.
I also did not have one in college. I would say I probably had a single professor I went back to and chatted with more often, and probably gave more life advice. I guess you kind of call that a mentor. I think probably about 8 years into working for Dominion, I finally reached out to a manager that I thought, that I admired and saw in a good leadership role, and asked him if he would mentor me, and he did. And that started that mentoring journey for me, seeking out people who I just liked their leadership style and wanted to learn from. So that's how it's worked for me, and it's very valuable. So what we do at North Anna is we have set up leadership classes and make sure everybody has mentors. And also for our, like I talked about, our operators, as they're coming up and going through class, which is really difficult and hard, stressful for not only them and their families, we make sure they have mentors throughout the whole process as well.
Yeah, I didn't ever have like an official mentor going through school, but I did research under a professor, and she was, I think, one of the only female professors I've ever had a class with. And I think that was motivating, just to see a woman be so successful in, a male-dominated field.
Awesome. Yeah. Personally, for me, my mentors mainly, I didn't really have a mentor till I joined the first program. And so that I think that's an advantage I've had having this program offered to me, is that I've been able to, receive mentorship through it, and then also know how to seek out mentorship after it. So I think it's really incredible that you guys are doing work to provide more mentorship opportunities to new people as they come in. So I think that's all the time that we have for today. I would just like to thank you all again for speaking with us today. and stay tuned for our next chat starting in just a couple minutes.